What's up, everybody? My name is Sucker. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 5 big offseason moves that some teams are already regretting. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like rating on it. Check out my socials in the description as well, and let's go ahead and get started. First up on the list is a team that's actually playing really well, and it's the Chicago Bulls. However, the Vucevic trade, which technically isn't an offseason move, but it's from late last year, it could be read already as a mistake. So they didn't really get to fully evaluate the Vucevic-Levine combo last year because Levine was ineligible to play basically immediately after they got Vucevic, and they just never really were able to figure it out. Then they bring in DeRozan, they bring in Lonzo Ball, and I think, honestly, there are probably some people out there that completely forgot that they even brought in Vucevic in the first place. And to begin this year, despite the fact the team is playing well, even in the absence now of Patrick Williams, DeRozan, Levine, Caruso, Ball, those 4 guys are playing really, really well. Vucevic has become kind of the forgotten guy. Efficiency is way, way down. He's not spacing the floor well. And those are supposed to be the 2 primary benefits of having him on your team, is having an inside scorer that's going to be efficient and having a guy that's going to be able to space the floor. And he just doesn't really look like he fits. And it's really frustrating at times because what you need him to do, it's already becoming kind of apparent that that's not really his strong suit. Like, it would be nice if they had more of a rim protecting big that was an athlete that could make up for some of the defensive lapses that they do have at times, despite being a pretty good defensive team, and was someone that threatened the rim a little bit more when you're running ball screens with guys like that. Like, think like Clint Capella in replacement of Vucevic here probably works better, probably fits better, and certainly would have been putting up better stats to this point in the season because they don't really need any more offense. I mean, this is not a guy they're going to be dumping the ball down to in the post. Like, they want to kind of work some of the pick and roll, pick and pop stuff, and he can space the floor a little bit. But I go back and I think about that move, and I think, would they be better off having Wendell Carter on this team, having those 2 future firsts, one of which turned into Franz Wagner, who's playing really, really well in Orlando, so add him to the roster. The flexibility of being able to trade future picks as well, even having given up one in the DeRozan trade. And then, like, you go back to a move from a year and a half ago, and that's, or maybe it wasn't even that long, but trading away Daniel Gafford, who has looked awesome at times in Washington. Like, having a Wendell Carter Jr., Daniel Gafford, Franz Wagner combo in the front court rather than just Vucevic, I kind of can already see the wheels turning a little bit of regretting on making that move, just because I don't know if he's a super great fit for this form of the Bulls. It's obviously early. I'm sure we'll figure it out. He's a very good player, but it's something to keep an eye on. Next up, this has got to be the inspiration for the video, right? It's the Russell Westbrook thing. And at the time that the Lakers made this move, I made a video saying they lost the trade and saying that they should not have traded for Westbrook and they should have taken the Buddy Hield one, because I would have rather had Hield and kept KCP, because that was the structure. It was like Kuzma on a first in exchange for Hield, and then they would have kept KCP. I think Montrezl Harrell might have been in there as well. But instead, they went out and got the star power. They went out and got Russell Westbrook, and it has been nothing other than a complete disaster, mistake. Anything you want to label it as is fair at this point when it comes to the Russell Westbrook situation. It has not gone well in any way. He doesn't space the floor. He has no real role in this offense. He can't find his place on this team. He's awful defensively. He's not very good at the end of games either, and there's frustration mounting already for a team that's supposed to be a title contender. They lost to the Thunder twice. Now, granted, I know that LeBron hasn't played in all of these games, and he's been resting maybe more than you would have expected, but that was supposed to be half the point of the Westbrook thing, was when LeBron sits, we don't really lose a ton, because Westbrook goes from being the third guy to the second guy, and he gets to be Russ again, and he gets to attack the rim, and he gets to do all of the high usage stuff that made him Russell Westbrook in the first place. But he's not doing that either. They're losing games to the Thunder when LeBron's not playing. And it's incredibly frustrating to watch, and it's a situation that has no resolution. And again, the what makes it even worse is that there's a very obvious counter to what they could have done, and that is Buddy Hield, who'd be out there spacing the floor and can play make a little bit. It's not on a Russ level or anything, but he can certainly play make for you a little bit and shoot. And he would have been by far a better fit, and they would have had a better rotation here as well, because they would have kept KCP. Now, the one counter to this is Russ did not start the season well last year either. And the Wizards as a whole last year did not start the season well, and they were really, really good down the stretch. So maybe at this point in his career, Westbrook is just a bit of a slow starter, but right now it is looking like a huge, huge mistake. Speaking of the Lakers, I don't mean to pile on here, but losing out on Alex Caruso in free agency looks to be a mistake as well. The Bulls stepped up, they paid him, and he has been nothing short of awesome for Chicago, and he just makes a ton of winning plays. He defends, he spaces the floor, he doesn't need the basketball in his hands. And the Lakers prioritize someone like Talen Horton-Tucker over Alex Caruso. Granted, his contract was cheaper than what Caruso ended up getting, but still, when it comes to what this roster could have looked like, granted, it's way easier to do this after 10 to 15 games and Russell Westbrook's not playing well, but you can go back and you can say, you still have LeBron, you still have Anthony Davis, you keep KCP, you get Buddy Hield, you keep Alex Caruso. That already is a better roster than what they have been so far to begin this season. And yeah, they might struggle a bit more to score when LeBron's off the floor, or when he misses games during the regular season. But when you need to be at your best at the end of the year in the postseason, that lineup, that group is by far a better one than what we've seen so far 10 to 15 games into the season. And that has got to be something that is causing them a ton of regret. A smaller one there, but two huge Lakers regrets, I'm sure, so far to begin the season. Next up, the Pelicans. I could go for 15 minutes here in terms of things that they might have regretted over the last, 3 years. I'm specifically, though, going to talk about Lonzo. This is a very Bulls-Lakers-centric video so far. I promise the last entry is something else. Lonzo has been everything that you would have hoped that he would be in Chicago when you're talking about giving a guy, $80+ million. I think there are a lot of people out there that were thinking, man, is he really worth that? Like, is he really that good of a player? But he has been an awesome off-ball player. He can play on the ball. He can play off the ball. He can defend. He can shoot. He just has this ability to create unselfishness within the team. And just, you can put any lineup out there and he fits with them. And the Pelicans, in exchange for a guy like that, got Devontae Graham, and they might have gotten a second. I don't 100% recall, but I know it wasn't worth what Lonzo Ball has meant to Chicago. Now, granted, it's complicated because Lonzo Ball didn't really want to be there, but that's why restricted free agency exists, so that you can get good value out of a player like this that clearly has value not only to Chicago, but a handful of teams around the league. Now, it seems like the Chicago thing had been in the cards for a while, and that's always where he wanted to end up, but New Orleans had no incentive to necessarily agree to that and to let him go, and they certainly could have pushed for more value in exchange for Lonzo Ball. So at the end of the day, it is just... It's unbelievable how poorly this situation in New Orleans has been managed, from Zion to the development of Brandon Ingram to the coaching staff to the front office to letting Lonzo Ball, who is one of the prizes ultimately of the Anthony Davis trade, walk for what is going to amount for essentially nothing, as Lonzo Ball is now playing a critical role on what looks to be one of the best teams in the entirety of the Eastern Conference. Disaster, regret doesn't even begin to kind of frame what's happening there in New Orleans. Last up. This one is tentative, okay? Michael Porter Jr., the potentially $200 million man, 180-something if he makes an All-NBA team. Doesn't look like he's going to do that. It'd be 200 plus. It felt slightly premature, in my opinion, to give Michael Porter Jr. as much money as they did, and to give him an extension on his rookie contract that said without saying that he is one of the bright young stars in the entire league. Now, no disrespect to Michael Porter Jr. The shot making has certainly been there in the past, and he looks like a guy that's going to have a ton of potential moving forward. Great high school pedigree, great size, really skilled player. But in terms of actual tangible production, it felt premature to me because you're paying him like a guy that can be the focal point of an offense and can is going to continue to grow as a playmaker and doesn't just rely on the three. And to me, it felt like he just relied a ton on crazy pull-up off the dribble threes. And to start this season, it has not been pretty for him at all. I mean, he's missing open court layups for a team, by the way, in Denver that desperately needs him to be what they paid him to be. Now, granted, he's still very young, and over the long term of the contract, I'm sure he'll still be worth it. But at some point, you do start to wonder in the back of your mind, did we do this too early? Was he ready for this? Was this a move that we should have gone ahead and made and just assumed that he was going to continue to improve, also keeping in mind some of the injury stuff? I mean, this is a team that has been awful without Nikola Jokic on the floor. Obviously, Jamal Murray's hurt, and they need Michael Porter Jr. to step up and be that offensive focal point. Yes, it's early in his career to ask for that, but it's not too early for him to be better than what he is right now. I'm sure he'll improve. I'm sure he'll turn it around, and then a long term, it won't be a bad contract. But I'm willing to bet that there are some Denver fans right now that are looking around wondering, he just got paid is this really what he's going to be like? Because to begin the season, he's been bad. Now, granted, I'm sure at some point around the upload of this video, he will go for like 40 in a game and make me look dumb. But I did feel like he was worth including on this list. But that is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, be sure to check out the boxes on screen and leave a like rating on it if you enjoyed it as well. With all those things said, hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.